Welcome to episode 88 of the Permaculture PIMPcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only PIMPcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. How you doing, son?
Pretty excited. We're giving away knives today.
Bam! Y'all got to stick around, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to be doing a thank you giveaway for all the wonderful things you guys do for us. And we're going to be doing more of these in the future. And I'm hoping we have a really, right now we're at episode 88, but I'm wondering if we ought to establish benchmarks along the way in which we do some stuff like this.
Well, episode 100 is an obvious one.
Yeah.
We got to do something pimping for episode 100.
Well, we got to do that, and then we also have to do, I think, something midway between now and then. But hey, folks, in the meantime, please go ahead and keep those reviews coming. Tell them where all the places they could do that, son.
Well, I mean, anywhere you're listening to the PIMPcast, of course, like any kind of like pod catcher or whatever they call them. But also YouTube. Leaving YouTube comments is very helpful to us. Yeah,
and most importantly, y'all, tell the people out there, YouTube is a helpful tool in a lot of ways for some of the how-to stuff we do, but there is a great deal of suppression going on there in so many different ways. And when I talk to other podcasters and YouTubers and everything, you kind of get the full extent of just how awful it is. All right, y'all, let's get right into it. This episode brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from Two Old Crows Homestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Also, remember, Heaven's Harvest, y'all, 10% off with promo code PERMA. Son, you want to tell them about the good news that's going to come out tomorrow? It's part of that video.
Well, I can't give away the surprise.
Yeah, well, folks, you want to be tuning in. Tuning in. Yeah. Check that. Yeah, you want to tune in. Actually, tomorrow's video is going to be, it's a spring update. And despite the fact that we haven't been able to devote anywhere near the amount of time that we would like to the projects we have around here, I'm pretty doggone impressed with how things are turning out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, especially the clearing in the back. That's where you notice like the biggest difference and stuff like that. The grass, like in the pasture, you don't notice it as much. It's not nearly as drastic as the clearing in the back. You can see like the fence line.
Yeah, you can absolutely see. I mean, and it was cool because we started at a place to where you couldn't see 3 feet in front of your face.
No.
And thanks to the, bringing the right dog to the hunt, or rather the right pigs, a couple of rotations of pigs, and now the sheep are in there, and now we are able to really gain some ground on this.
Yeah, Zone 5 was up against Zone 1.
Yeah, it was crazy. It really was. And in fact, that's one of the reasons we even began a YouTube channel was to kind of chronicle what we do, because we don't take pictures, we don't document anything.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those cases where we didn't even, if people would have saw the before and the now.
Well, they did.
Well,
we have a YouTube channel
to some extent, but we didn't show all the clearing that had to be done. This was a monumental thing, and it was made much easier by, employing the animals. But hey, before I forget, y'all, if you want to tip a pimp, check us out over there on the Fountain app. You can listen to all your podcasts over there, and you can triple the speed. And if you like, you can go ahead and tip a pimp. But if you like some of our products, y'all, go and check out the website. You'll be glad you did. We got a lot of comfrey in stock. We don't know how long it's going to last, because everybody, and a great-grandmother out there is wanting this stuff. And for some reason, bone saw sales are through the roof, and I can't make this stuff. And the cool thing about the bone saw, son, it was like one lady responded a while ago, is that she got the recommendation from some Amish. I'm like, how did the Amish even know?
How did they find out?
But hey, I mean, the word gets out there, and it seems to be something of a purple cow in the right way, in that the right people are finding out, and the stuff works. It works better than anything you could hope to buy, and it works longer than anything you could dream to buy.
The fact that it works means it works better than everything else on the market, because nothing else on the market works.
Yeah, because they work within the paradigm of planned obsolescence. Everything from the light bulb you buy to the alternator in your car to the chair you sit on, believe it or not, and most people find this hard to believe, but it's true, most of it is engineered to fail. Well, there's no difference with, for example, bars of soap. They could last 20 times longer than they do, but they want it to be a diminishing thing. Well, unless, of course, you get some of that Ballin' Hickory Ridge soap that we have as our sponsor, because that stuff, I mean, it works well, it smells well, and it does everything it's supposed to. But what's the difference? It wasn't made by Procter and Gamble, who couldn't care less about you. It's made by Shelley at Two Old Home, and her family. They got a whole thing going on. It's candles and everything else going on.
It's not a petroleum product,
right? And it's made, and because it is, between us people that love each other and we all do business with one another, which we need to start doing. How is it in every Muslim community out there, money changes hands 20, 30 times or whatever before it ever leaves the community? Well, why aren't we doing that in the homestead space? I'm sure there's a number. I'm not singling out Muslims, but I'm saying that they use a method that we should all be using. Where
Some would say that's racist.
Well,
okay,
being Muslim is not a race.
No. Change it to white people. If white people were to only buy from white people, they'd be called racist.
Ah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
So what do you call a homesteader that buys from another homesteader? I call that a patriot.
A pimp.
Yeah, a pimp. Permaculture is my passion, y'all. So, check us out on the Fountain app. So we're going to get right into it. Tip of the day is very fitting, and I think William's going to vouch for this one because he doesn't ever really know what I'm going to say on this side of the microphone. Get good equipment no matter what. Now, generally, that we always have that. We buy the best we can afford. We get the best because this stuff breaks down. And then, shovel handles falling apart no matter what you do. But here's where and this is where I know you're going to give an amen, is what happened to you and your mom yesterday when you went out there trying to capture that swarm?
Oh, which part? I mean, the bee suit fell apart. The sugar water went bad. It was not a good experience.
Went out there with the sour sugar water. I don't know what your mom was thinking, man. That stuff must have been sitting on the shelf. So the bees were drunk.
The bees got drunk and started stinging us, I guess. I don't know. Swarms aren't supposed to be like violent. Yeah, they're not supposed to be aggressive. Mom got stung a ton of times on the legs.
Yeah, it looks like they were playing dot to dot on her.
Yeah, they tried getting they didn't get all the way through the skin, but you could feel the pokes and stuff like that. And they tried to get through my wrists. We had bee suits on, we had gauntlets on, all that, and they got through it.
Yeah, so but why? Because we had
Mom has a hole in her hood too.
Okay, well that ain't helping if you got a breach in the doggone thing.
Yeah.
But you notice I don't get stung when I'm out here dealing with those bees. I went and captured, so now we have 4 swarms and we've already captured.
Finish that.
How come I don't get stung?
Dad doesn't get stung because he looks like Ralphie from Ralphie's little brother from the Christmas Story when he goes out there to deal with the bees. Dad can't even move.
Man, I went out there. I'm telling you what, I look like I was in Mop 4, man, in the Army, man. I was out there as if I was expecting a chemical attack because after y'all got lit up, I'm like, I ain't no way. So we sent him out there to go get some bee suits when he had to do a little bit of running around today. But underneath that, I had a pair of sweatpants on top. I had a sweatshirt on top. And then I had the bee suit on top. I'm like, nah, it's not going down like that for me. And then the gloves, I had my regular gloves, my Maxi Flexes, inside the other gloves. But I got to say,
you're going to have a bee sting another bee just to get that stinger into the suit.
Yeah, there wasn't no getting through what I got. But you notice, every time we do work with bees, you and your mom always get stung. Me and Emily are the only ones that haven't gotten stung.
Emily doesn't get stung because the bees just don't mess with Emily. You don't get stung because you can't move, and then Dad has like 4 inches. He was thicker than those pigs we just processed.
Yeah, and you notice I didn't get stung. But I went out there because I couldn't get either one of them to come help. And
what were we doing, Dad? Mom was cooking some bomb roast that none of us can eat today because that's for the pig processing tomorrow, and I was over here sharpening knives for the pig processing tomorrow and trying to upload videos to Brighteon.
I'm out here. We got like, this is 4 swarms in like no time at all. This is like record.
Like 2 weeks.
Not even that long, I don't think. Anyway, we ended up policing up this other swarm, or at least I went down there by myself. Now that was a new one for me, but I could tell you what, I had on that new bee suit, so I snatched them up. And I made some bomb sugar water, and I got some new frames in there. So I wonder if part of the reason we had an issue where they wouldn't really stay in this box, they didn't want to stay. We were using old frames from rotten hives, and I'm thinking, okay, let's just start over again. So I hope they actually stuck around this time. And so that's 4 swarms so far.
I want to give a shout out to the bee place that I went to today. It wasn't the typical place that we go to. It's called Dry Ridge Beekeeping, and they have awesome customer service. They actually have customer service.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I walked in there with a list. The lady, first of all, I pull up in the parking lot, and she's waving at me through the window. So there's that.
Okay.
She's happy to see a customer. I walk in there. She greets me at the door and then asks how she can help. And she sees I have a list in my hand and says, "What's on your list?" And I told her everything on the list. The only thing I had to grab were the bee suits because I knew the sizes. That was the only thing I had to grab. Everything else she went and got for me. I said, I need 20 frames. I need a bucket with a valve on it, which they didn't have the right valve that we needed. But she went and still got it. The gloves, and then the only thing I had to pick out were the bee suits.
See, right there, that alone is enough to make me go back to that place.
Oh,
because
yeah.
The thing missing in this world, the thing that burns me up, man, I'm trying to give people money to do certain things, and I can't even get them to call me back. Or you go into this other bee place, which we won't mention. I don't want to dog them out. You go in there, it's a bunch of hipsters in there, little Marchies running around, and they kind of barely look up from whatever. They're always sitting on their butts every time I go in there, and then they look up like, I asked this guy one time, your mom sent me out there for something to basically close off the hive so you can move the whole thing without getting lit up. And I'm asking this kid, I'm like, hey, where do I find whatever it's called? I don't even know what it's called. And yeah, it's over there on the shelf. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what this is. I don't even know what I'm looking for. You mind showing me? And then he's acting like he's halfway put out because he's got to get up and help me.
It's not just the Marchies. It's like look at the older men that work at Lowe's. Like when you go in there and ask them like, hey, I can't find something. Can you show me where it is? They won't show you where it is. They'll tell you what aisle it should be on. Like they think it's on. That's what they do. They don't tell you where they won't take you to the place.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, that's exactly how I'm going to do business from now on. I mean, when I've been doing it that way for years, if I see exceptional customer service, I'm going to tell people about it. If I see in fact, I wonder if they didn't open that place up because they knew just how short the other place was falling. It's like, I mean, if you act like you're doing me a favor by me shopping at your place, everybody can always buy online. So I'll go out of my way to do business with people that do things that way. But I don't want to lose the tip in the way here. Y'all get the equipment. We use this cheapo stuff. I don't even know where it came from. And it was not good. And so I went out there in the new outfit today, and believe me, snug as a bug in a rug, capture those bees, put them in a box, did it all by myself. And, hey, I'm here to tell the story. So that's always a good thing.
You were in more danger of suffocating than you were getting stung, Dad.
You doggone right. Yeah, just like I was in a mop suit. All right, y'all. So farm news, we'll jump right into that. So, yeah, I guess I've already covered part of that. We got 4 bee swarms so far, and it's still early yet. I mean, it's still early, so we're going to need more boxes. And with some of the things that we're developing, and, you know, we're hoping the bee life is going to be, we're hoping it's going to be exceptional because a lot of people around us have absolutely lost all their bees. We lost some, but good night, man. It's not catastrophic like some of these other folks where all of them were gone.
We also lost ours much later than everybody else lost ours, too. Like, ours left at, like, almost the break of spring.
Yeah, we have some issues that we're still trying to iron out there, but man,
of the ones that did leave, I mean.
Yeah. So we'll just see how everything goes. I mean, so far so good, but you know, from the neonicotinoid garbage that they're spraying out there in these crops, you name it, it's you know, it's dreadful for these bees, and so we're trying to make a safe haven that the Lord treats this place like Goshen in the middle of Egypt. You know, that they at least have a safe space here when all the pestilence is going everywhere else. All right, y'all, other bee news. Yeah, so we're not that kind of podcast, but yeah, studying hard. Just finished all 3 segments of Elaine Ingham's class, and now I'm working into the microscopy thing. So now it's starting to get some of that microscope training under me. And I got to be honest, once again, man, I am the most productive I've ever been in my life. And part of it being is putting this phone down, not listening to podcasts, or I do, but I do that very infrequently, and I just get the bare bones. If they're not talking about anything that matters, I'm just going to not do it. But I am inoculating my brain with the information that I have to know to pass these tests. And it's not to pass the test. I got to know this. I mean, we're out there right now as we speak. We're trying a whole new way of composting.
Yeah.
And then here before long, your mom's in the middle of she's a little bit ahead of me on all this, and she's working on her microscope stuff. So we're going to have in the future, we're going to have a lot more moving parts around here of things we are able to do, build soil in unimaginable ways. And the things I've learned, honestly, over the last month are just really mind-boggling. So in light of having this power list that I got to get done, having this 75 hard that I got to get done, and all the other things, I am highly, highly productive. And even today, like when we were up there, we got the boys, we got the sheep on the top of the mountain. And I'm telling your mom, this phone for some reason kept going off. It was in my pocket, and every little disturbance, because I'm out in nature, I'm trying to do what I'm doing. Every little disturbance has become something of an annoyance to me. So I think I'm going to even start, because I'm running a chainsaw, man. I can't hear the thing anyway if I was listening to a podcast. So I'm going to start leaving that thing in the house and not even looking at it. It's going to be, I think, a disappointment to some people, but the best way to get a hold of me is probably going to be to email me here before too long, because while everybody is getting themselves more tech saturated for the last several years, and then really over this last month, I have been extracting myself away from this stuff. There was a time where we had, and people my age and older know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a time where to make a call, it was kind of a big deal because long distance cost you money.
I don't remember any of that, Dad.
I
remember a landline, but I don't remember really using it much.
Yeah, you had to memorize phone numbers, long distance. So calls, I mean, when they happened, they were, I would say to a certain extent, special. And so I'm not trying to bring back the special nature of, let's say, calls or whatever, but I am going to be distancing myself more and more and more. And in fact, looking at Joel Salatin, he doesn't get text messages. He's got an old-fashioned flip phone. And I'm thinking really kind of getting myself back to that. I'm getting to the point where I really, really, I see it as a tool, but you know what? So is a shovel, but I don't walk around with a shovel.
Yeah.
So maybe I need not to be walking around with this phone. So that's exactly where I'm trying to get to. All right, y'all, other news. Tomorrow, big day. Pig class is going to be teamed up with Sow the Land. Always a joy to me to hang out with Jason and Lorraine and the baby. Well, I guess she ain't a baby.
Yeah, she ain't a baby. She's like eye level with Lorraine.
Yeah. Also, Jason's father-in-law is going to be out there. Randy. Every time I'm around Randy, I learn something awesome. I mean, he's an extraordinary man, and also his wife. I mean, they're wonderful, beautiful people inside and out. And every time I'm around Randy, I don't know what it is, but I guarantee I will learn something profound that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And every time, and he's not trying to do it. It's just how he's a very wise man, and it's always a joy to be around him. And look forward to, we're going to process these pigs tomorrow. A lot of people are going to learn, but hey, if you want to get in next week, May 5th and 6th, that's when we're going to scald one. We got some slots opening, y'all, and this is probably going to be doing it for this year. I don't foresee me, heading the charge on another butchery because we got other big fish to fry around here. We already talked about that spring update video. We're making compost. We talked about that. Before I forget, over at Renewed Homestead, y'all, they're going to have a rooster giveaway.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're a little bit heavy in the rooster department, and I think they're all Bielefelders, which means they're,
yeah, that's good.
Friendly birds.
Our two Bielefelder roosters, well, we had two, now we have one. There were no issues with them at all.
Never. These guys, I mean, friendly. I really don't have any. Of all the birds I've tried, now I still got to try those Bressies or breasts or however you pronounce that. Bressies. I still gotta try those because I've heard so many wonderful things from so many people. In the chicken tractor on steroids, I want to give them a shot in that setting to see exactly how they do. But doing the Bielefelders in that setting, I am 100% impressed.
Oh yeah,
they're a good big-bodied bird. Very good dual-purpose bird, decent layer near as I can tell. They scratch, my goodness. Well, in a chicken tractor on steroids, like Carl Hammer says, the ideal bird is something very different. You want a good sized bird to be able to move that material around. You got to have that. And they're friendly. I think I mentioned that already. And they seem rather prolific foragers.
Yeah, they don't seem lazy at all. They get out there and get after it.
Yeah, so Renewed Homestead, y'all, they got a YouTube channel. If you don't know about it, go check them out. And reach out to them if you're wanting a rooster. And if you're anywhere, they live in Burnsville, North Carolina. So reach out to them. I think she's put out, I think Denise is really wanting to avoid putting these guys in the pot. Like I said, we had 2 roosters in a very small space, and there was never any problem, even with all the hens. Usually that's a recipe for a disaster, and every single metric in which we've tried these birds out, they have passed through with flying colors. All right, y'all, we're going to get straight into my pastor, the Homesteading Pastor. Check him out on YouTube, y'all. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Lon. I got 2 verses of scripture I want to share with us today. They're in Acts chapter 7, verse 55 and 56. But he, being full of the Holy Ghost, looked up steadfastly into heaven, and saw the glory of God, and Jesus standing on the right hand of God, and said, Behold, I see the heavens opened, and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of God. What an awesome testimony Brother Stephen had. On the day he died, as they took him out to the edge of the city to stone him to death. Why? For preaching the truth, for calling out the sins of the crowd and of the government. He did not bow down. He did not cower out. But a testimony that he had Jesus Christ. He saw the glory of God in Jesus Christ standing at the right hand of the Father. Therefore, he got a standing ovation from Jesus Christ because of his faithfulness. We as men should want to be like Stephen, to live a godly life and call out the sin of this world instead of being some of these cowardly men that don't even know if they're a man or not, much less know how to be a man, and stand up for true righteousness. I'm calling all men to the front line where you should already be.
Boy, Pastor Lon was on fire this time, wasn't he?
Man. Yeah. He was.
Yeah, and I think he's right. You know, I'm going to take a little tact here. Good night, y'all. I got a shirt that says "Make Men Men Again." Pastor Lon has one too.
Yep.
And I will wear it with pride, with total pride. And I think he said it all right there. I am sick and tired of the mealy-mouthed nonsense where somebody's, well, I don't want to say this. You know, it's okay for you to sit here and offend me 30 ways to Sunday. Or I remember when I had back in the day, I had a shirt that said Permaculture Pimp Daddy. Elderly lady inside of Lowe's is walking down the aisle. She kind of stops me there and says, you know, she like admonished me a little bit about this shirt. And I'm like, well, it's an acronym. It's PIMP. It stands for Permaculture is my passion. And then I said, excuse me, ma'am, do you not just notice that guy over there in a dress and a full beard? Do you have anything critical to say of him? And then her response to me was, well, he can't help it.
Well,
he can't help it. I mean, look, I mean, if
I can't help being a pimp.
Yeah, that lady, I got a PhD in pimpology. Yeah, I mean, that's what I should have told her, but
he can't help it, but I earned it.
No, I mean, what Pastor Lund is getting is really good night, man. I mean, he and I have talked about this and texted back and forth about it a number of times. It's getting on my last nerve where there's a lot of mealy-mouthed guys out there who won't stand up because what are you afraid of? That they're going to get to you last? I mean, we're losing our doggone country and nobody seems to care. That's why I keep saying over and over and over again, it seems that the only antidote to this depravity is the crucible of really hard times, which ultimately means starvation. If you look at history, and I mean, from the top of my head, I'm serious. I could probably fill volumes. Every single depraved society has never corrected itself. Except, I mean, well,
right.
Notwithstanding Nineveh. Okay. Yeah. Don't want to give away another set of knives there. But yeah, outside of Nineveh, I can't seem to recall one. But look, y'all, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. And if what I'm saying here, clearly we're getting to a place in the United States of amnesia where what we're saying, what we think if it falls outside the norm of the, the orthodoxy or the norm of what everybody's willing to accept, then they want to cancel you. They want to do all that. Well, take your best shot.
No, I don't think it's outside of what everybody's willing to accept. I think a large amount of people would probably agree with what we say on the PIMPcast. I think it's not in line with what they want to promote and what they want everybody to think is the majority.
Well, I'm just going to be that outlier then. I've been that way my whole life. I struggled for years and years with being a person that's different, that maybe I don't think like everybody else, or maybe I don't talk like everybody else. Maybe I don't do things like everybody else. But you know what? Over the last decade, I've come to own that, okay, the oddities in me that make me me is what it's just going to have to be. And whether you like it, I mean, I struggled for a lot of years in my life. You want people to like you when you're a person that grew up the way I did. You struggle with those things. I don't care anymore. I'm going to stand for what I know to be right. And, like Jim Garrison said, let justice be done though the heavens fall. And that's exactly how it's going to be. All right, didn't mean to get on my soapbox, but I think I hear a whole lot of amens out in the ether, son. All right, bad news, good news section. Oh, good night, man. Where do we even start with this one? Well, check it out. Big Pharma wants livestock animals to be injected with mRNA. But Missouri, North Dakota, Idaho, Tennessee, and Arizona are proposing legislation to stop it. Now, that's from Natural News. Now as
we already have cows falling over.
Yeah. So this one, I think it's in Idaho. It says it'll make it a misdemeanor for anyone to provide, for basically to put it in there. Okay, check this out, y'all. I am all about letting the market decide, but I should have informed consent.
Right. Yeah. Kind of like they do with the GMO labeling, or not that it's GMO, but the fact that it's non-GMO.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's incorrect labeling, I think. Yeah, I think you should mark it whether or not, like, if it's inorganic, it should be marked inorganic. If it's non-GMO, or if it's GMO, it should be marked GMO.
There should be informed consent. I mean, I say let the market. As a libertarian, I'm always going to say, for the most part, when it comes, well, there are issues with the tragedy of the commons and things like that, but generally, I'm always going to say let the market decide. Look, if you want to go out here and eat this junk, you knock yourself out. But it ought to be on the package, because let's say I'm on a road trip, or I'm doing something, I'm out of town. Man, I want to know if somebody's trying to feed me this junk. I mean, it's hard enough now to try to sit here and,
Yeah, I agree.
And try to find something sensible. I mean, they're talking about putting this stuff in everything. So, folks, like we always say in this program, man, you better stay alert, stay alive.
Yeah, because, you better read some doggone labels.
Yeah, you better read those labels. I'm telling you, man, because, I mean, from the feed up, y'all, they're trying every single way, from the things they're dropping out of these aircraft to the food they're trying to give you, to the stuff they're trying to stick you with. And speaking of which, Canadians rage.
Hold on, Dad. Hold on. Before you get into the next one, it's double good news, because it also shows that their injection plan didn't go to plan, and that they're having to bring in the next step because not enough people are falling down.
Well, that brings me into this next article, where I'm going to call this good news. Canadians rage, which, okay, I don't know if I've ever heard Canadians and rage in the same sentence. And believe me, I love Canadians, man. They are some awesome people. One of these days, I'll have to tell some of my Canada stories, man. Nicest, most polite people I've ever met in my life. Only one Canadian, and I've known a lot of Canadians, only one Canadian I did not like. It was a dude named Al. And believe me, he was just a salty, nasty person. But outside of that, I have never met a Canadian that wasn't polite, kind, courteous, I mean, selfless. And maybe they're finally getting to the point where they've had it, because right here it says Canadians rage over lying Trudeau claims he never forced anyone to take the COVID jabs. Well, if you go on to read this thing, the dude's trying to walk this thing back, and it's not just him. There's a great many others. Is that now that this, and look, I don't take any joy in anybody that took this thing, because a lot of people did it thinking they were doing the right thing. I don't derive even the slightest bit of joy in knowing that a lot of people out there is suffering. I just want to see all of the people in the structures of power that demanded that this thing happen. I want to see them pay, and I want to see them pay dearly for the harm that is happening to millions of people out there. and it's unfolding right now.
On the same note, and I don't know where the balance is, but on the same note, how much time should we dedicate to that, to getting justice in that case? Like, instead of focusing on building parallel economy, like autonomous economies. That's what is that making sense?
No, I'm right there with you. I mean, I bring it up and I focus on it is because, and the reason I'm calling this good news is, like I said, if you see Canadians getting fired up and it ain't a hockey match, you might want to start paying attention, because those are some long-suffering people, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, they're the kindest people I've ever met in my life. I've never met a group of people. In fact, I remember being on a bus up in, I think I told this story before, just as a brief example. I remember I was fishing up there in western side of Canada. I was heading over to the Queen Charlotte Islands, and I was in Vancouver at the time, and I got on this bus. The bus was empty. There was nobody on it. And I'm sitting in the back, I can't remember where I was sitting, close to the back, I guess. And it made a stop. This girl gets on, this blonde lady gets in, and of all the seats, I mean, there's an entire empty bus. She sits down right next to me, and I found it very disquieting. I mean, I was like, man, what is going on here?
It's cold up there.
She's talking to me. Well, it was summer. It was summer, and the weather was actually quite nice. She's talking to me, but I'm not really hearing anything she's saying, and I know that I'm responding, but this is just very awkward to me. So I don't know if they hit a couple of more stops, and she's still talking to me, but I'm still like giving one-word responses. Finally, I just say, Miss, there's an entire empty bus here. I'm just curious as to why you chose to sit with me. She wasn't crazy or anything, and she wasn't out of her mind. She was perfectly sane. And she's first thing out of her mouth was, "You must be from the States." And I said, "Is it that obvious?" She says, "Yeah, no Canadian would have ever asked me that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then so we had a conversation and everything, and it was pleasant. But yeah, if these people are getting fired up, that should tell you everything. But back to your point, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I think I've said about, unless some new things pop up, I think I said about all I can really say on the matter at this point, and I'm not going to belabor it much more. And I totally agree with you. Parallel economies. There's a farm out there in Oregon right now doing that very. I think you might have heard about it.
Helios Farm.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yep. I heard them in an interview the other day, and I'm going to book them for the show as soon as they get a chance.
The point I was getting at was, like, instead of focusing on getting justice from these people, maybe we should focus on getting to the point where their election doesn't matter. And I'm saying their election because it really has nothing to do with us.
That's exactly what we got to do. And Helios Farm, man, they are really good night, man. When I heard them guys interviewed with Mike Adams, I was like, I got on the phone and I actually spoke to her because they didn't have an email address that I could find on the website. Now, I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world. It actually is on the website. But what they are doing is paradigm changing if we can get it to be replicated. And they are doing yeoman's work when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Their currency system,
yes,
I want to figure out how to replicate that, because that is cool.
I think it's brilliant. So stay tuned, folks. We're going to be talking to them in the future. Actually, they said they were going to check out a couple of PIMPcasts and figure out whether or not they wanted to be consorting with some cast of characters like us. So maybe reach out to them and tell them, hey, we're nice guys, maybe they ought to come on here. And I think they're going to find that we probably almost certainly got a lot in common. All right, other good news. This one here came from InfoWars. It's ex-U.S. Army PSYOP expert says Fox News fired Carlson to maintain semi-lobotomized, quasi-retarded population. Now, those are, well, I don't fully agree with that level of language, but I get his point in terms of, you have people that no matter what will watch fixed news. Tucker Carlson delivered a lot of good breaking thing. Now, they got rid of Dan Bongino. Now, okay, I can't help but go back to the previous thing, son, but I haven't heard anybody mention this, but what are the two things that Bongino and Carlson both had in common? They were highly critical. In fact, Dan Bongino went as far to say that the worst mistake of his life was taking that jab. You had Tucker Carlson, biggest show, one of those people that commands the media. He's gone too. And then I'm sure there's another thing. But when you get into this article, the long and short of it is that the drones, he was going, I guess, giving too many red pills or blue?
See, I think I have a different opinion on Tucker Carlson. I think it's just Glenn Beck 2.0.
I agree.
It's just Glenn. And then there was actually, so one of the runners up for the knife giveaway was Daryl Allen. And he said, this is good news. No more Tucker Carlson. And I agree. Because all he's doing, what I think, is all he's doing is giving you enough truth for you to believe everything he says, for him to just lie to you, or for him to get paid to lie to you.
I have no doubt on that. And there's a number of others also. That's why.
Stupid haircut. That stupid haircut.
Hey, I like his better than Sean Hannity. Now, if you ever put Pawn Vanity in front of me, because, he's out there, used to wear that lapel pin with the CIA thing on it. I'm like, okay, you're just going to tell the whole world you're Project Mockingbird. The thing is, what burns me up with Fox is, good night, man. I'll put it this way, y'all. The news you get for free is worth exactly what you didn't pay for it. Or the news you didn't seek is worth exactly the same thing. And when they're out there saying, there's a reason they call it programming. And I don't care if it's Tucker and Dan Bongino, he may say some good things here and there, but they only take you, let's say, 50, sometimes 70% of the way. They only get you, it's like...
which is just as bad. Also, if they really didn't like him, he would have committed suicide. And for those of you listening, there were air quotes on that one.
Yeah. And then also, here's what gets me. Okay, so the Fox News listeners and a number of others are listening to people like Carlson and Bongino. If you were to just listen to, let's say, there are other people out there like, let's say, Mike Adams, Stu Peters. They don't always get it right, but they're reporting stuff that these guys don't even cover until a month later. And I'm like, and then by the time they get around to covering it, it's no longer relevant. So it's like it's old news. It's already been processed. So didn't mean to spend more time on that. I ain't going to lose any sleep over Tucker Carlson. But the typical Fox News audience is really not a whole lot different than MSNBC. You're willing to be programmed by people who are Operation Mockingbird stooges. I can tell you what. I'll tell you who won't be going anywhere, and that's that Pawn Vanity. Him. I wanted to strangle him for years now, just because I couldn't stand that dude ever since 9/11. I really couldn't, and it was sad that a lot of people couldn't see through him. Thankful that I could, but
beat him with my soggy jiu-jitsu belt.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, y'all. When we get back to it, we're going to get into it. All right, welcome back, y'all. Okay, before we get into the main topic here, we're going to switch up the show today for a little bit, and for a couple of reasons we'll cite here in a moment. First off, I want to remind you, EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Don't forget that, y'all. They got that EMP Shield Micro. Fantastic. But honestly, one of the biggest reasons, as a journeyman electrician for 25 years in the IBEW, I'm going to tell you there ain't nothing better out there in my experience than the EMP Shield that you get for your house. And then honestly, find me another transient voltage surge suppressor on the market that if anything damages downstream of it, and we're talking lightning strikes, y'all, if anything downstream gets damaged, $25,000 are going to cover you. And you have to double check me on that. I'm pretty sure it's 25 G's. You don't even have to go to your own insurance to go get coverage on that. That's why I sought out EMP Shield, and that's why they're a sponsor of this show. All right, y'all, we're going to get right back into it, and we're going to do essentially the entire show with Q&A. But before that, we're going to go ahead and announce the winners. Yes, we're going to get right into that. I know that's what a number of people have actually waited with bated breath.
And this one sucked, and I'll tell you why. This one sucked because there were like so many awesome comments, like especially on YouTube. That was hard to pick, y'all. That was really hard to pick, and even then, picking one still felt still feel bad about it.
Hey, let me also say, look, there's thousands of people out there listening to us, okay? Hey, y'all, do us a solid, man. Go over there. If you like what you're hearing, if we make you laugh, if we edify you, if we're giving you some information, hopefully we're doing all of that. We want to make every episode like a Forrest Gump thing where we can cover it all. It's not contrived. It's just how we are. This is our natural state, okay?
Yeah. How much do we talk about what we're going to, like you and I talk about what we're going to say on the Pimp? This is like an impromptu,
you
honest conversation.
I have a couple of notes here, but for the most part, y'all, there's nothing synthetic about it. We're not looking at teleprompters. It's none of that kind of stuff. I'm not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just at the end of the day, what we're more concerned about is giving you an authentic, genuine farm podcast that's a little more upbeat than everything else that's available out there, and hopefully giving you some pretty solid information as well. So a lot of people tell us they listen to us on the way to work. Hey, y'all, when you get there, tell somebody about the PIMPcast, because I got a feeling that here before long, this is going to be the only way we're going to be able to communicate to you.
Yeah.
So tell folks about what we're doing here, and it's also a good clarion call when we have events coming up, when we have festivals coming up, or when we have somebody giving away or wants to gift a chicken away.
Yeah, a rooster.
Yeah, I mean, when we got those things, we can. It's like we're something of a town crier here, and this thing is blowing up much faster and more than I ever expected. So y'all do us a solid, man. Let's keep this thing growing. Tell everybody you know about it. Make the kids subscribe. Make them listen to it. You're never going to hear any profane stuff. You're never going to hear any. Not out of us anyway. And if it slips through every once in a while in an interview, I don't know what to do about that. I'm going to try to make sure that sort of thing doesn't happen. But it should be family friendly all the way around. So give us those reviews, y'all. Supposedly it helps us in the algorithms, but there's a lot of people in this world that don't want to hear other people talking about how they can get other people to grow their food. All right, son, do you want me to start off with mine?
No, I got number one.
I thought, well, no, man, we got to do it third, second, first.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so third place is over on the, what do you call that? The iTunes?
It's the Apple iTunes podcast player review.
Yeah, it's brief, but it kind of hits to the core of what we do here. These guys are great. They make you think and love the brotherhood between a father and a son. And that comes from Matt just trying to get by. Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you for everybody else for these wonderful. We had a lot of honorable mentions in there. Tell him what he's going to win, son.
So, well, also, since you won, email permapasturesfarm@gmail.com. permapasturesfarm@gmail.com. And that goes for everybody who wins. But you won an Opinel grafting knife. I'll get close-ups of it. I don't know why I just raised my hand. But yeah, you won an Opinel grafting knife, which is, these are really cool, like, little pocket knives, and they're like real old school. They're a really old brand made out of France. They have a very unique locking mechanism. You see that?
Yeah.
They're cool knives. They have like, they only sell 2 blade steels, which is like carbon steel or stainless steel.
Cool thing, a good thing to have, especially in these times where everybody out there should be trying to graft something.
It's a grafting knife, but it's also just a hawkbill blade. So that's really good. Believe it or not, package opener.
Well, believe it or not, that's also an electrician's knife to a certain extent.
Yeah.
That's exactly what old school electricians, we don't really use those things anymore, but that's
if you look up, like, let's say you use this knife and you really like this shape of blade and you want to get like maybe a different version, if you look up hawkbill blade style, then you'll get more knives like that.
All right, son, what do you got? So that was third place.
That was third place. All right, second place is from user 72647. You'll know by your comment. This is on the Fountain app. All right, good news. You pimps are the huge cutting edge of all the permaculture podcasts. Enjoyed both of your classes at Farm Where You Live. Purchased comfrey crowns from the event. From both of you better halves. Oh, from both of your better halves. So from my wife and my mom, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's kicking. And it's kicking, cousin. Also picked up some of Billy's bone sauce and coated all my new fruit trees. Past experience has been excellence. Dear be gone. Never miss your PIMPcast. A esoteric permaculture trip every single time. Learn something new every time. And then here's why he won. Recovering liberal hood rat in Leicester.
Bam!
we got a recovering liberal hood rat on here.
In Leicester.
In Leicester.
Wow.
So Email us, permapasturesfarm@gmail.com. You won the Kaiser Sheepdog with 154 cm blade steel. It's a Warncliffe blade shape. So again, if you like that, look up Warncliffe. And it's also a flipper, one-handed operation, liner lock, G10 handles.
Hey, I'm also a recovering hood rat as well, man. Got to the other side of that 12-step program of undoing the ghetto. All right, son. What do we get on the last one?
All right. First place, and this was on a YouTube comment on the Permaculture PIMPcast YouTube channel. This is from MT Brand. Great info here for sure. Thanks to William for sharing about the 75 hard. I have 3 more days to finish my 75 hard now.
Awesome.
I've dropped 26 pounds and have been able to get off my blood pressure medication. I feel great also. I met y'all at the Swell Workshop at SOE back in July.
Oh, man, that is so awesome, man. What?
That is awesome.
Okay, so tell him is it a he or she? Who is it?
He. It's a he, but he got off his blood pressure medication.
Oh, man, that is so awesome, man.
You have a similar experience, don't you?
Yeah, I got myself off of that garbage too.
Yeah, but you won the Leatherman, which you can flip back and forth, one-handed operation, all that stuff. You won the Leatherman free P4.
Man, you don't know how. Hey, you know what I got half of mine to do, man?
That's messed up,
dude. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna do you a favor, nephew. Hey, so you can earn your way up to something like this. I'm just going to hang on to this for you, okay?
No, you're getting the new one. I'm going to
send you this Jive Time wave I got back here in my hip right next to my whip. Yeah. Man, are you kidding me?
Dude, you're going to get a rusty rebar.
Dude, I'm like, hey, just never mind the scratches, bro. Don't worry.
You're getting the new one, MT Brand, but that's awesome. But that's also a testament to the 75 hard.
Well, it's also a testament, honestly, to his dedication because, honestly, it's not. I mean, when Kendra kind of talked me into this, I'm like, good night, man. I wish this kid, man. I'm like, I did not want to do this until I was completely done with the butcheries, and I'm like, you know what, this is whack. Me of all people, man. I'm telling everybody, fail while daring greatly.
Yeah,
I taught Kendra that. I mean, I made her memorize that from Teddy Roosevelt. Something of a polecat in his own way too, but he said some really cool things, and it was to fail while daring greatly. And she had to throw it back on me one time. Yeah, it's like, how do we fail, Uncle Billy? And I was like, while daring greatly. I'm like, good night, boy. That's some crow that did not taste good. But
back to the Leatherman. Y'all, if you have a Leatherman, this is honestly the best one I've ever seen. It's completely one-handed operation. It just takes, just practice with it a little bit. Also, MT Brand, let me know. It is going to be special screws, but let me know if you want the pocket clip on there or not. I'll take it off for you if you want to. I'll send you everything.
Dude, he just got a ball in Leatherman, man. I'll let him work that out, dude.
Well, the screws are... That's the issue. It's like Leatherman has their own kind of screws. It's not a Torx bit because it has like a center piece in there.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to wind up doing, man. I wonder if we shouldn't get a whole fleet of these bad boys and on special occasions just give them out, man. Because like you said, it looks like Leatherman's going out of business because, or at least like it's heading that way because they can't find anybody to work.
Or y'all. This is the best multi-tool. I don't care what anybody else says. Gerber sucks as far as multi-tools. I know a lot of people. The only people who push Gerber multi-tools are the people that never have to use the pliers.
Yeah.
So go with Leatherman. Get the free P4. That has been the best one. Or get the one that's specific to your uses.
This sucker's magnetized too, isn't it?
Yeah, those are magnets. Everything's held together with like magnets to a certain extent, and their own version of a lock. Like their locking system is somewhat between like a liner lock and like the magnets are elsewhere. The magnets are down by the handle. Dad's over here sticking the Leatherman on random stuff to see if it'll stick. Dad, this is titanium.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a problem. And this is stainless, so that's another problem. So yeah, ain't exactly going to work out. So for those that are listening, I'm over here trying to, I'm just about ready to cry to see this Leatherman go out the door. But anyway, thanks everybody for submitting all of your thoughts out there, and thank you so much for the kind words. We're going to try to live up as best we can.
Well, I'm also going to read, so during the Q&A segment, I was going to read a bunch of these good news. Like a ton of people posted good news on the YouTube channel.
Okay, well, maybe we'll cover that. That's exactly why we're not going into a main topic tonight. We're going to go straight into the Q&A. So right off the bat, Yeah, so I'm not sure what this one entirely is about. Walter is saying, hey, Billy, what about pure spirits of turpentine? I have some here which you technically can ingest, or pure distilled grains. But, well, Walter, I don't know what I'd want to do with any of that, but
yeah, you can technically. I don't want to eat anything that you can technically ingest.
yeah,
you might be able to dilute it and tincture stuff with it. I don't know about the turpentine, but the alcohol part, you might be able to dilute. What's he asking?
Yeah, it was something in response to bone sauce. Look, y'all, if you're going to thin that stuff out, don't use paint thinner. Don't do that. Yeah, because I don't know what's going to happen to the tree. This stuff, when you put it on, okay, let me just go ahead and cover this. I'm sure a lot of other people out there, do not thin that stuff out with paint thinner. Use beef tallow, okay? If you're going to thin it out, I leave it strong. I leave it, I like it full strength. So if you want to thin it out, then, beef tallow is the way you want to do it. Don't use mineral spirits or paint thinners or anything like that, okay?
I got one from the Fountain app. Oh, shoot, I lost it. Sorry about that. Andy Bowley. What up, pimps? I'm going full bore food production this year. I have 2.8 acres. Mostly all of that will be productive somehow. My favorite one-liner is nephew, because that is literally what my uncle called me, and he has about 10 of them.
Bam, nephew. Which one?
Whoever comes first.
Yeah. It was like growing up in Oklahoma. Hey, get me a Coke. And then they say, well, what kind? Coke was like soft drink. It was like a generic kind of thing where I grew up. Yeah. Okay. So we got one from Sue here. It says, I purchased some bone sauce from my hostas and flowers have broke ground and are growing. How do I steer? I'm not.
Here, let me see that one. Something about hostas. I was just talking to Mom about the hostas in the back.
Well, she says, I purchased a bone sauce, and basically her hostas and her flowers just broke ground, and she's wondering how to keep the plants from the deer. Okay, you ain't going to be able to put this stuff on the hostas. It's meant for woody wooden kind of surfaces. So that definitely doesn't qualify. Some people have had great success by putting wooden stakes out near them and in painting those stakes. Or if push come to shove, it's not going to be the most sightly thing in the world, but other people have taken things like mule tape and stuck it around their gardens and have put the bone sauce on that. Look, bone sauce was never, ever meant for anything more than putting it on trees and orchard and food forest settings. So when you're doing this sort of thing, it's going to require some invention to a certain extent. And a lot of people have had great success on raised beds and otherwise.
Got one from Kelly on the Fountain app. Good news. We expanded our gardens to 2 more plots this year. This winter, we built our DIY high tunnel from watching some YouTube channels. Our chickens are producing so many eggs. All things are coming together. What a blessing. And what a blessing you all are to me, my husband, and my farm's life. If it weren't for watching your videos, we would not be putting in a food forest. Hashtag tip a pimp. Hashtag blessings to you all.
Oh, man. Blessings to you, too. It's such a joy to see this stuff evangelized in that kind of way. And then this is exactly what we're going to have to do, folks. But it doesn't have to be drudgery. It really doesn't. I mean, when I say permaculture is my passion, there is nothing more satisfying than going out there looking at these trees that are bursting with every imaginable life you can, knowing that I know how to prune these things, knowing I learned that skill, knowing that I learned how to put these things in place, and knowing also that I'm able, through these platforms, my whole family, to evangelize this magnificent design science we call permaculture.
Yep.
All right. Got one over here from Thomas, or Tom, I guess you go by. Said, I heard about your bone sauce and looked it up and saw nothing about it. Well, you should have. If you go to the video section, we'll probably pop up probably the only name in bone sauce outside of a couple of others that might have done things. He says, please tell me, and he has questions here. What it does, okay? It's the world's best deer repellent. Okay, that's what it does. And also rabbits works really well on that as well. How much is used and what will a jar cover? Well, this is an answer nobody ever wants to hear, but it all depends. If you're doing saplings, it can go quite a ways. If you're doing, mature apple trees that bucks are rubbing up against, well, it's going to require a little bit more. You don't really need to go any higher than browsing height They kind of get a taste of this stuff and they're like, okay, I think I'm going to go somewhere else.
No need to climb trees.
Right. Yeah. How often does it need to be applied? Well, that's also a loaded question. Some people put it on there and it has lasted for 25 to 30 years.
If it's on a wooden surface.
If it's on that, well, and then I think also if it is a non-mature wooden surface, because if you put it on a sapling that's only yay big and then it grows up, well, you got a lot more mass there. So you may need it on a mature tree. You may not ever have to do it again. But I think on the smaller ones, you may have to reapply, although we haven't had to.
Yeah, we haven't had to reapply any bone sauce anywhere on the property.
No, not anywhere. And then he's also asking, what are its contents? Boy, he's thorough. I'll give him that. What are its contents? Are they organic? Straight up, it is bones, water, heat, technique, and time. It's really those 5 things. I mean, I can tell you everything that's in it. A little bit of cayenne. And then there's one other ingredient that I'm not going to tell anybody about.
Yeah, I don't want to spill the beans.
No.
All of it's organic, though.
Yeah,
it's definitely organic.
Definitely organic. But look, there are, I don't see anybody out there asking Coca-Cola what their recipe is. There's one thing in particular that is proprietary, but it's also the technique to make this stuff. It's simple ingredients, but if you got the wrong technique, I am probably the world's expert on making bone sauce, without a doubt. And I get it right at this point, maybe 90% of the time. You get it right less than 50% of the time. That's how much practice it takes and how much technique. No, but I mean, I'm telling the truth, and you're my son.
Dad also makes it 90% of the time as well.
Yeah,
so 99% of the time.
There's a lot of this stuff that can only be taught by feel. And there's been a number of people hitting me up about, hey, we could partner up and do all this. Look, I'm not willing to do any of that right now. And plus, if it's got my name on it and the quality, I will literally throw out entire batches of this stuff, and it takes a very long time to make. I will throw it out before I send some junk out this door, or I'll take it right back. I mean, to a certain extent, it can be, you can work with it again, but it's got to be perfect. If it ain't what I think it's supposed to be, it's not going out this door. I'm not about to damage my reputation for, for greenbacks that aren't even worth anything. So, I think that covered all your questions. Thanks so much, Tom.
I got one from Snow Farms. Okay. Thanks for the chance to win a knife. So sad to hear about Leatherman. My husband has one and I have always been jealous of it. Anyhow, thanks for all that y'all do. The comfrey that I have purchased from you is doing awesome in our crazy Oklahoma soil and weather. Always looking forward to learning from y'all. That's awesome. Thank you. That would have been funny if she won the Leatherman and she's got this brand new top of the line Leatherman right next to her husband's jacked up old one.
Yeah. Next thing you know, he's in there. He's having these daydreams about which dress to lay her out in just to get that Leatherman.
Yeah.
Hey man, these things do that thing to you, man. No, really, Leatherman is a fantastic tool. Been using one for years, and I haven't even found a good second best. So yeah, I'm gonna have to break down and get one of these things. And we'll have to see about getting more before they no longer have them. Okay, got one here. If I can get this thing out of my eye. So we got another one from E in Texas. I have a dry creek that runs through our property, only 1.5 acres. During the early spring, late winter, it stays full, but the rest of the year it goes dry. Any recommendations on this? I would love to do something to help it retain and hold water. I'm slowly planting fruit trees and herbs along the edges. Sort of like a swale. Got it from y'all. He says, don't know if this helps, but we raise pigs, turkeys, chickens, and don't plant. Wow, man, that is so awesome to hear. Okay, regarding that, son, what do you say?
Well, the first thing that, if you're trying to retain water, and I don't know what the watershed laws are or anything like that, but maybe you could divert it over to a pond on your property.
Anybody carrying in Texas?
Well, yeah. Maybe you could divert it into a pond on your property, or maybe you could dam it up and slow it down a little bit, and disperse that water out so your soil can actually hold on to it. You don't necessarily need like a running creek, but if you can, like during your wet season, dam it up, slow the water down and spread it out and have the soil soak it up, I think that would probably be your best bet. Or another way, and I don't know how well this would work, but plant your trees all around the creek and stuff like that. And then when it's in the dry season, dig a huge pit out of the creek and then have that fill up. And then in your dry seasons, you have a pond. In your wet seasons, you have a creek.
I'm going to offer a different recommendation. First of all, I'm going to say get your soil right, because the number one place to store your water is always going to be in the soil, and everybody misses that. We think we need tanks, we think we need reservoirs, we need all these things, and yeah, they are important. But without having seen it, I can't really give you definite recommendations on anything. But it sounds like this is an intermittent stream, and in such places like that, it sounds like you're doing the right thing. You want to try to, first of all, he talked about having swales.
Yeah.
And if you can borrow that water, remember, when you have energy coming to your property, you can capture it for a little while, you can amplify it, you can deflect it, and sometimes do all three. So you may be able to capture some of that water in your property without actually seeing it. One of the things I thought about doing one time with an intermittent stream that we had, well, we actually did it. We dug it out and made a pond out of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what you were recommending as well. So we put a pond in the way. We put a pond in the way of that intermittent stream, and it turned out to be really quite good.
Yeah.
This is one of those things pre-YouTube that we did that I truly wish we had a picture of.
Yeah.
Well, you made chinampas and everything in that pond.
Yeah, there were chinampas in it. There was a dam wall. There was bamboo planted on the dam wall. Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool
so
little pond.
you got options out there, but I would maybe use it and think about a way to exploit that. And you say you got pigs out there, they could glade that pond for you.
Yep. This one is from Beefinator. Without vision, the people perish. Brothers, you bring great information for my family and I, so we can cast vision, I think, to prepare for the future. Even though it may look grim, my family can stay positive, knowing that the Lord has made a way for us to provide for ourselves and give to others. Thank you so much for your show. God bless and keep on pimping.
Well, thanks so much. And remember,
that is an odd sentence to hear.
Yeah,
God bless and keep on pimping.
Yeah, but I mean, we've redefined that word, and I think that's one of the good things about this is that we've taken a word that, okay, frankly, is not a very in its normal form. But the cool thing is that only the people within this audience are going to even know what that means. We can say that to one another. Wait, what's up, pimp? No, hey, Permaculture. You can say that. You can say that knowing full well that nobody else speaks the language. I mean, it's kind of a little thing that we kind of got going here, and it stands for Permaculture is my passion. But yeah, I'm right there with you. In these times my faith is never, ever, I don't know that it's ever been stronger. And I see the signs of the times, and like William was saying, I'm transforming from that disbelief, and it went to anger for a while, like this is really what happened to my country, and then it got to the point where I'm like, okay, now I got to start thinking about solutions, and we've been at that for a long time, the solutions game. And now we're getting into the point where we're like, okay, now I'm hearing other people out there saying, okay, we can do a parallel economy. I don't need to go eat your meat ridden with every piece of GMO mRNA filth you can think of. I don't need that. We can create enclaves where we trade, we barter, we deal, we make our own currencies. We do this. We just find parallels. Is it going to be easy? No. But was the American Revolution easy? No. And certainly not for the 3% that fought it. So we're gonna, like Ben Franklin said, we're gonna hang separately or hang together. One way, we're gonna hang. All right, pimps. This one here is from Seth. You mentioned needing a comfrey. Okay, well, he kind of covered that.
Comfrey FAQ sheet. Yeah, he had a comment on the Fountain app at the same time.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll definitely pass that over to your mom. He did some.
Well, we need to do a video on it, like Comfrey FAQ. That's where it sparked from, was us mentioning the Comfrey FAQ, doing an episode on that.
That's a really good idea, though.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Strider 47, because man, he kind of laid it all out right there. And it's very concise and simple.
Yeah. I got one from Stark Raving Ranch. Guidance from you guys has enabled me to double the size of my food forest, orchard, and veggie garden. Trees are looking great. That's awesome.
Excellent.
And I got another one from Captain Diabetes. Good news, I just planted 2 fruit trees, a Gala apple, and an Ozark plum. Also waiting on Comfrey to pop up and have planted around my trees. And have it planted around the trees. You guys are You guys also got me reading Gaia's Garden and expanding my knowledge. I appreciate all the great content you guys put on YouTube and the PIMPcast, #TipAPimp.
Man, it's almost weird, man. We don't get as much hate mail as I thought we would. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of odd,
like,
because when I was doing radio, man, believe me, there were people that hated my guts, especially, man, it was now. I don't know if I'm polarizing. I don't know what the deal was, but there were either people that like you or hate you. But frankly, we don't get a whole lot of hate mail yet.
The right liberal hasn't listened yet.
Oh, yeah. Well, or they tune out because a lot of times, and this is what I get with some of these guys in person, is they're disappointed that as a brown person, I don't see myself as a
victim.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm supposed to be a victim. So the worst racists on this planet are those very people.
Yeah.
So, anymore, they've kind of realized that, so we've had issues before in the past with some of these guys. So we're looking at the clock. What are you trying to tell me here?
Well, it's about an hour.
Yeah, but we got more.
Okay. Are we going to go through and do the rest?
Well, I got a couple more on my end.
That works.
Yeah, because I wrote back to these people and told them I would cover this stuff.
Okay. That's everything on the Fountain app. I can pull up stuff on the YouTube channel.
I didn't know if you got to go ahead and do the redo on the camera.
No, we're good on the camera.
All right, so it says, hey, Billy, I understand if you can't answer this question because I know y'all are busy. My neighbors is spraying this stuff called mosquito shield all over the yard because the so-called man of the house is a simp. He needs some of that Two Old Crows Homestead. So, bam, that's exactly what he says. It sprays over the fence window in our garden, and I was wondering, is there anything I can do to put into the soil to neutralize the bad mojo coming over the fence? Yeah, actually, you can, to a certain extent, create. Dr. Elaine Ingham actually talked about this. Mark Shepard wrote extensively about it in his book, Restoration Agriculture, where you can use certain
filter trees,
conifers and a number of others,
to
where you can kind of help create that barrier. But Elaine Ingham brought up a good point. Like, maybe if more people sued their neighbors for causing me, because here's how it works. When you put out the really good biology in your garden, okay, it stays put for the most part, unless you do something foolish like, compaction or do a whole lot of tilling and things like that. When you put the good biology in there, it generally stays put. The only reason it doesn't is when you have some Nimrod over the fence spraying some poison that is killing your stuff. So once again, in many ways, and I can think of a number of others where there is such a thing as the tragedy of the commons. That doesn't really apply here, but the point being is, yes, there is something you can do. You can go ahead, check out Restoration Agriculture by Mark Shepard. He talks about some of that stuff. But also, every single time they do that, I don't know what's in this stuff. I mean, it may not be as caustic as I would suspect, but it's going to be killing your biology, which means it's going to have to be put back in place. So you're going to want to try to do that with some compost tea for your foliar things, and it's going to have to be good stuff. So I would definitely seek somebody from the soil food web to get you started on that. So every time they do this, and if that stuff is toxic, it's killing your microbial life. So in order to put it back, you're going to have to all over again put compost teas out there. And in addition to that, it's also going to require you to do some soil drenches, almost certainly, to really get that stuff back up to snuff.
Also tell your neighbor, oh, the video just went off, but there we go. It's going again. So if you're on YouTube, welcome back. We had a video error for a second. You could also tell your neighbor that Bill Gates' mosquitoes don't care about mosquito shield. It ain't working.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Tell them also, like, some alternatives might be some citronella plants, like the actual plants themselves. Put them on planters and put them around your porch or your deck or whatever.
Well, I'd hate to suggest acrimony in this world, but honestly, man, she makes a really good point. Like, if they're the ones spraying this stuff, killing your microbial life, then maybe they ought to be the ones paying for you to have to put it back.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the best choice is to go over there and say, hey, there might be a different way. There's this thing called permaculture. If you don't want to use that word, restoration agriculture, there's a number of things out there. Maybe, I guess the best choice is to try as best you can to explain and educate. But at the end of the day, you may have to put this person through a 5-minute flurry of fists.
Or pimp slaps.
Bam.
Also,
no, I'm joking. Hey, hang on, man. That was actually meant in jest. Don't, take some of that Booker T. Washington advice and not put your hand
That's
on
a new
anybody.
BLM, though. Biota Lives Matter.
Ooh, yeah. Black Locust Matter, Biota Lives Matter. Yeah, tell them, they're killing your pets over there. You got pet amoeba. You got pet amoeba, all kinds of stuff over there.
Yeah, killing your employees.
Yeah.
I got one from Shelly from Two Old Crows Homestead. Good news. Oh, this is on the YouTube channel, by the way, Permaculture PIMPcast. Good news. Last weekend, Randy's 2 brothers came to Kentucky from Indy to learn how to process 2 hogs and take them home to fill their freezers. All because y'all taught us how to process our own meat. We are passing our knowledge on. It's such a blessing.
Well, it's a blessing also. Check out Two Old Crows Homestead, y'all. They are doing, along with Jason from Kentucky Sustainable Living, they're going to have a festival, I believe in October. They haven't worked out all the bugs and the timing yet. And it's going to be something you want to go to. I guarantee it. I know these guys, they're the real deal. Jason, I can't wait to get back on the show because he is advancing the chicken tractor on meth, his version of the chicken tractor on steroids. Well, he's advancing this thing and he's doing extraordinary things. And like so many others out there, I mean, everybody can go out there and court some of the big people that everybody's heard of. The Joel Salatins out there, the Greg Judys, and that's a good thing. Everybody needs to hear what these people have to say. But we also want to try to give as much focus as we can on some of the other folks out there that are doing astonishing work of their own, but everybody doesn't know about them.
Right, yeah.
And so we need to put the focus on all those folks for a couple of reasons, because honestly, if you're a person running cattle, well, looking at Greg Judy might seem a little bit beyond, it may seem like unobtainium. But when you're seeing somebody that you can relate to, maybe that doesn't, working with something more modest that you can relate to, then it makes it a little more accessible. Because remember, this all the way around is a war we win, not in miles, but in inches.
Well, that actually ties into this next comment from Lattice and Tomatoes. Good news. I took some of Billy's advice from months ago about finding a mentor. Your example was learning to butcher, and now interning under a local farm who raises cattle and loves Joel Salatin. I'm still on little lot in town that is becoming a food force. But I can now drive literally 6 minutes and learn from someone who knows his stuff and has the same vision for pasture raising animals as me. It was right under my nose and I had no idea. Thank you for the kick in the pants to just ask. I needed it. Hashtag tip a pimp.
That is exactly, this is exactly the great news stories, y'all, that we need to be filling this show with and filling each other's ears with, because since extracting myself from the podcast world for the most part, and solely because I've got to get this education squared away, I'm honestly a more peaceful person. I'm not saying ignorance is bliss. I'm saying that not inundating myself all day with bad stuff and hearing these wonderful things from you folks is awesome. Got one. This is the last one I got here. Billy the Goat. Let's see here. I got 40 roots from you guys. I live in Central Florida. Nothing happened with the sprouting for 2 weeks. Might want to give it a little more time there, nephew. Yeah. So I put some copper wire spirals. Basically, he put an orgone device around it. 2 days later, it looked like this.
Dang.
My man did that in 2 days.
He put a what around it?
Orgone. Okay. Seth Holhouse.
Hold on. Let me see that again. Okay. That picture.
Yeah. So orgone. I was talking to Seth Holhouse. I'm not sure how much he'd want me to reveal about this, but there's some people out there that claim some really big claims about this orgone. I thought about ordering some a while back, and basically, man, these things just jumped out of the ground.
Yo, that has never once ever happened here. that amount of growth in 2 days.
Yeah. So is it? It's going to require a little more testing, but honestly, I guess it's worth taking a look at. But some of this orgone, some people use them like stones. Some people think it's there may be something unnatural there. I don't know enough about it but I heard it. Well, I'll put it this way. First time I ever heard about it was on Coast to Coast AM, and it was years ago. So, yeah, do your work on that. You better look into it. But honestly, the pictures here are impressive. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'd love to examine that a little bit more.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, what do you got on your end, son?
Oh, I got one from Riley T 868. Good news. Tried grafting this spring and had about 5 of my 8 grafts take. 2 Granny Smith, Liberty Cortland, and an Arkansas black apple to a 15-year-old crab apple tree with 3 rabbit eye blueberry bushes underneath, surrounded by comfrey, strawberry, and flowers. Hashtag tip a pimp, hashtag permaculture, hashtag permaculture PIMPcast.
Awesome, y'all. Thank you so much for these wonderful comments. How many more you got there, son?
Well, like hundreds of comments.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay, I thought we were going to get through all those.
Scrolling.
Yeah, and that's on the YouTube channel,
It's
right?
on the YouTube channel.
Okay, so I got to get over there and look these out. Hey, y'all. Hey, also respond to each other, too. We have got to lift each other up, especially in these times when things are only going to get crazier. So, y'all, we have got to learn as much as you can, do as much as you can. And honestly, this doesn't have to be drudgery, man. It is a joy to go out there looking at the fruits of your labor. Nobody else can take it away from you. And guess what? Seeds are pretty doggone inexpensive, especially when you get something that got 100% germination like those ones from Heaven's Harvest. So
way to spoil the surprise, Dad. That's for tomorrow's video.
Well, it honestly, if you're going to blow money on seeds, not blow money. I mean, I can't think of any better way to spend your money. You might even want to consider those, y'all, not just because they sponsor us, but honestly, they put 85% germination rate on there, and we got 100.
Oh, yeah.
So I am definitely happy. And you know why you want seeds, son? Because you stay alert.
Stay alive.